Hi, Lisa. I'm really excited to be working with you and talking with you today about mental fitness, trying to help people understand what it is, how to increase it. We're both coaches in certification training for the Positive Intelligence program. And so we know that as part of that program, we define mental fitness as a person's ability to handle life's challenges with a positive mindset rather than a negative mindset. And I think for this conversation, let's aim to really breathe life into that definition, that concept. And I'm going to suggest that we even kind of bring in some of our own personal stuff into this space. How does that sound to you?
I love that. I think that sounds perfect.
Fantastic. So let's start with brief introductions. I'll go first. I'm Wendy McManus. I'm a leadership coach. My company is Connect to Potential. And my focus is helping people shine a light on their inner dialogue so that they get to gain traction towards their most important goals. I work mostly with people in the fresh produce industry, and that is a really demanding, very high stress environment. And my clients tell me that after working with me, they show up differently. They show up more intentionally. And that puts them in a better position to manage their stress and to work more effectively as leaders and contributors, and as people also, that it spills over into what happens with them at home. I just love watching my clients step into that fullness of who they really are. It's fun.
I just love that, Wendy. I mean, you can just see the enthusiasm that you're bringing to your clients, which is awesome. And I'm Lisa Brewer with Lisa Brewer Coaching. As a professional certified leadership and life coach, I work with project managers to help them succeed and get promoted. I also work with service providers and coaches to help strengthen their business. I help them get clarity around their vision, develop the plan, skills, and behaviors that then will get them there. I'm really effective at getting people into action. And while this all sounds very business-like, 90% of my clients bring a blend of business and personal issues. And as we work together, they become so energized and confident and courageous and happy that when they say, Lisa, thank you so much, but I'm ready to go it alone now, we just have this huge celebration.
I love watching you light up as you talk about your clients, and especially that celebration when they go off on their own, right? Our goal as coaches is to get people into a position where they don't need us anymore.
Exactly. Right? Exactly.
My job
Get the
is for
skills,
you,
and then, if they encounter
Yeah.
another problem sometime in the future, they're more than welcome to come back. But hopefully by working with us, they are set for some time.
Yeah. So, let's dive into this and unpack what mental fitness is. There's that mental part, right? The ability to get into a positive mindset. What are your thoughts about that?
The key words there for me are get into. Mental fitness isn't about being a Pollyanna or having rose-colored glasses and ignoring the negative. It's really a measure of how quickly can we recover from setbacks and disappointments and move forward with a positive, productive mindset.
Yeah, I often say that this isn't just bright side thinking. There's actually something happening in your brain that's substantially different with that positive mindset. And, you talked about the negative emotions. They come with being human. We all have negative emotions, and they serve a really useful function. And I'll use the analogy of how pain serves a useful function. If we didn't feel pain and we put our hand on a hot stove, we wouldn't know to pull our hand away. And we could end up with some really bad burns. We could end up with a serious injury. And negative emotions are like that. They are useful warning signs that something needs to be addressed.
Yes, so true. And the question is, what perspective are we in when we start to address the need? So when we're upset, we go into fight or flight stress response, which makes us more impulsive. And so we go on autopilot instead of actively choosing our response. And this is often how fights escalate and moods plummet, and mistakes that require rework often happen when we're in this negative state of mind when we start to address these issues.
Yeah, it's interesting. We just don't have full access to all of our superpowers when we're in that place, when we're triggered or hijacked by all of those negative emotions, that negative mindset. And,
Yeah.
personally, I experienced this, and it's something I'm sure that everyone can relate to. COVID hit me like a ton of bricks in March. And you know me, Lisa, I'm usually such an optimistic person. Like I'm always seeing the bright side. And this thing really knocked me back on my heels. I found myself actually slipping into a depression. It was a rough time for me. And that's where I learned firsthand about that fitness part of mental fitness. And what I learned is that we can think of these challenges in life like they're the terrain we're walking on or climbing. And those everyday challenges, right? The stuff that comes along, small stuff, it's relatively flat, right? It doesn't take a lot of effort or energy or strength or resilience to get through that. But when you encounter something big, like COVID hitting, a pandemic lockdown hitting your life, it's so big that it feels emotionally like climbing a mountain. And if you're not trained, if you don't have your fitness worked up to a certain level, it's not going to be easy for you to climb a mountain. If you don't have your mental fitness dialed in and elevated, it's not going to be easy for you to climb that emotional challenge, that hard thing that comes along in life. So when COVID hit, I think of it like that was the mountain I was facing. It was really hard for me to get into the positive perspective that I knew would serve me better. It was tough.
Yeah, and I think so many people have encountered the same thing. I've seen so much of that in my clients. I experienced it myself. The worst for me was going to the grocery stores and seeing the shelves completely empty. For me, anytime I would see that, it's the very beginning. Now I've gotten used to it. It's just, this is what life is now. But at the beginning, I'm like, what's going to happen to the world? Are we going to end up in an apocalypse where you can't find anything? But what I love about what you said was how mental fitness can be trained, just like physical fitness.
Mm-hmm.
And the more we train it, the stronger our capacity to stay in this positive mood becomes. And there's some studies that have been done that compare how do people and teams that have high mental fitness, high capacity to respond from a positive perspective, perform and show up relative to people who have low mental fitness. And it's pretty impressive. What they've found is that with high mental fitness, teams perform 31% better, salespeople sell 37% more, people live 10 years longer, they tend to be 3 times more creative, and they're happier.
That is impressive. Very impressive. But I have to say, it's easy to say, right? Just think more positive thoughts. It's a lot harder to actually do it. And I think that's where sometimes there's some confusion when I talk to people about mental fitness and this positive mindset. It's like, yeah, it's easy for you to say, Wendy, to just think more positive thoughts. And that's why I really love that the mental fitness framework goes beyond just describing the what, like stay in a positive mindset, and it actually starts to tell you how. And I want to offer up some research here to talk a little bit about that. A study of 500,000 people from around the world revealed that there are only 3 muscles that need to be strengthened to improve mental fitness. Like, we can talk about it lots and lots of different ways, but if you boil it down to the essence, just 3 muscles, and they are the saboteur interceptor muscle, the sage amplifier muscle, and the self-command muscle. We'll go into these in more depth in future conversations. I look forward to those conversations with you. But for now, the saboteur interceptor muscle, that's the one that helps us recognize when we're in that negative motion and basically call it out, shine a light on it. The sage amplifier muscle is the one that taps into that strength of what's possible and taps into our superpowers and to take action from that positive perspective. The self-command muscle is a little bit different. That's the one that helps us shift more easily from the saboteur to the sage perspective. So it's like you've got different ways of looking at things, and then the underlying work in the self-command of what's actually happening in the brain.
Yeah. So I have got just a wonderful example of this. So,
Yeah, tell me.
I moved last month, which moving
Yeah.
itself is ranked among one of the most stressful activities that you go through, up there with divorce. Well,
Yep.
after 15 to 16-hour days of moving things in and out of U-Hauls and putting it in our new house, I was so physically exhausted. But fortunately, I had an established mental fitness program that I had started 4 months earlier. And so even in the midst of all of this chaos, I was doing these exercises to keep my self-command muscles strong. And thank goodness I did, because the next day we found out that we wouldn't have internet for 2 to 3 weeks in this COVID time where you can't meet with people person to person.
I need
I don't
my
have unlimited
internet.
data. My computer died, which makes it even more challenging to meet with people. And of all the disgusting things, our washing machine was so full of mold that once I started doing the laundry, we couldn't stop sneezing. And so historically, when all of this
Right.
stuff would be thrown on top of physical exhaustion, I would have had saboteurs running the show.
Right.
My victim would have come out in full force, lashing out at Comcast, my computer, our home inspector for not catching the washing machine. But instead, after a few minutes of ranting, when I started to clean the washing machine, which is the most disgusting job to clean all of that mold out, I was able to put everything into perspective. And that helped me find solutions to each of the problems and be able to settle back in and realize we just bought our dream house. And that's really what matters in the end.
I'm so, so happy for you. I love seeing you in this new space too. It's gorgeous, just
Thank you.
beautiful.
We
And
love
it's a
it.
powerful story. It really is. And what impresses me is how you were able to use those skills in real life. Like, it's one thing to learn the skills and to understand them intellectually. Doesn't matter at all unless you can really use them in real life. So I'm curious, how did your increased mental fitness, that you could feel the difference, but how did it affect your family? How did they respond differently?
Well, what's really cool about this is that as I started changing, so did they.
Mm.
And because you feed off of the energy of other people. So as my saboteur was able to get quieted overall, as it went a little crazy with the washing machine, my husband was in a good place because I had been
Ah,
empathizing with him all day long. I've been helping him to understand the situation with Comcast because he hates Comcast. So by really being able to give him what he needs, he was able to give me what I needed. And so in this incredibly stressful time where it was my son as well, the three of us were exhausted and dealing with all of these challenges, we didn't have any fights. We just got along so well.
wow.
Yeah.
That is one for the record books. A move with no fights between a couple. I can personally attest that I have never experienced that phenomenon. So I congratulate for you for that. I love that story. I really do. And, my story about building my mental fitness has to do with my business development. And I know people watching this, if you know me, I probably come across as being so confident and I get so much done. But Lisa, I have to admit, I have an avoider saboteur that I really struggle with. And sometimes it causes me to freeze up. And especially it causes me to freeze up when I'm about to do something big. And it's like there's part of my brain that just wants to stay with what's pleasant and easy and stay with like the known, right? The known entity. Um, but you know this as an entrepreneur, like staying with the pleasant is not
You
really an
can't do that.
option. Can't do that.
No.
So, what I found was at the start of the pandemic, it's like I lost my voice. I couldn't seem to find the right words to be able to continue with my outreach and my marketing efforts. And the longer I stayed quiet, the harder it was to get out of that rut. I think that might have been part of what was also kind of keeping me in that little bit of depression. I just didn't know what to say or how to say it or how to connect with people. And I feel so fortunate that it was right at the start of the pandemic that I started with you that 6-week mental fitness program. And I learned about my avoider saboteur. I learned that that was what was causing me to think and feel the way that I was. I learned about the impact that it was having on me. And honestly, Lisa, it felt like somebody gave me the key to unlock my voice. It was amazing.
That is so awesome. And it is crazy how there are these keys that sometimes can make such a huge impact. And so obviously it's lightened you.
Yeah.
What's been the impact on your business?
Well, I found my voice, and
Mhm.
I feel like I'm on fire right now. I have so much good stuff to share that I can't keep quiet. If I looked back at a few months ago, there was a period on LinkedIn where I was just silent, and that is not happening anymore. I'm out there. So that's what people would notice, like looking in from the outside. That's what people would observe. But what's really different on the inside for me is how it feels. Like I can notice now when I feel that like resistance, that friction that tells me the avoider saboteur is here in the room. I know what to do about it. Like I can shine a light on it. I know what to do about it. And it feels like I have this superpower that I've unlocked in my own brain that I can use so that I don't get into that place. It's
Yeah.
it's pretty cool.
Yeah, you've strengthened those muscles so
Yes.
much in that key one of the saboteur interceptor muscle that you know what's
Yes.
going on with you. And once you recognize what's going on, you can take action. And
Exactly.
so, yeah. So we're getting really close to the end here. So just to really
Hmm.
quickly recap, mental fitness is the capacity to respond to life's challenges with a positive instead of a negative mindset. And the more fit we are, the faster we can shift from disappointment, anger, regret, and sadness to these positive emotions, even in these more challenging situations like COVID. And the benefit of all of this mental fitness training is that we have increased productivity, improved relationships, and increased peace of mind.
You know, that third one, I cannot overstate the importance, that peace of mind. It can look like everything's great on the outside, but if things aren't working well on the inside, as we all know, it can really be torture.
Yeah.
And so to jump off from that, the 3 muscles as a reminder that we need to develop and strengthen to increase our mental fitness are the saboteur interceptor muscle, the sage amplifier muscle, and that self-command muscle. And I think that the next time that we talk, let's talk a little bit about strengthening self-command, what that looks like, and how to actually do it. Start to get into some of the how-tos. Sound good?
I love that. Yeah, because that's
Great.
kind of the key. How do you shift? So awesome.
Yeah, absolutely. Lisa, this has been so much fun. I look forward to having many more conversations with you. And for all of you out there that are watching, listening to this, we'd love to hear from you. If you have any questions, reach out to us through Connect to Potential or Lisa Brewer Coaching. And we wish you all a wonderful week. Thanks for watching.